honest photographer takes somewhat experience and confidence in the work that you're doing. So hey guys, what's going on? So welcome to my channel, and today I always wanted to make this introduction videos and to tell you guys what my channel is about. So yeah, I'm not a professional YouTuber, but I'm a professional photographer, and in this channel you can expect like real life professional photography experience. So not just photography reviews, like tech reviews and stuff from professional YouTubers. In my real life channel, I'm basically showing you videos and real life experience, behind the scene videos of my work, and then tips based on real life gigs basically. I named the title Honest Photographer. And why Honest Photographer? Because all I'm showing you probably in my videos are like real life experience, like what you really need, not from a tech perspective where people tell you you should buy this camera because this camera has this and that. But on my channel, I'm telling you basically what I need to get my job done basically. So not just gimmicking stuff where people try to sell you like some brands, like some expensive stuff that you will probably not need. So yeah, that's one part. And as far as camera gears goes, as I said, I really only use stuff that I really get my job done as efficient as possible. And because I travel a lot, I tend to travel as light as possible. So I'm not gonna bring like heavy gears, heavy lights and stuff, unless it's a bigger gig where it's required or you have to show the client that you need use certain gears so to justify the costs. But most of the time, my clients know me, and I don't need to show off like to bring excessive gears that I end up not using because I don't need it, you know. It's just for show most of the time. I bring it and it makes them feel good. So I bring a lot of stuff, like a huge luggage, and it's like, wow, this guy is pro. But most oftentimes I hate carrying all these bags and stuff. So I use a really beat up travel bag to put all my gears inside, and that's pretty much it. I mean, the times when I really enjoy my photography is that I don't have to bring all those freaking light stands and all the strobes and stuff. Just a luggage with my camera, my drone, and of course a tripod, a decent tripod. But then that's it. I don't have to haul the entire light equipments and stuff. So that's like my best gigs without carrying a lot of stuff. So all I'm saying is that you could use camera gears that cost $100,000 to, you know, to shoot this gig. You know, it depends on how big. But my medium gigs, I bring my gears worth around $20,000 to $30,000 that I bring. Maybe max up to $50,000 gears, like on a higher scale of project. But honestly, you can get gears that, you know, $2,000 to $3,000, and you could get a pretty decent camera to get your job done as well. But since I get paid, I've been in this business for a long time, shooting hotels, so I can afford to buy decent equipment. But I'm not just because I'm getting paid well, I go overboard and buy medium format cameras and excessive gears, brand names, you know, just some gigs require to to just show up with brand names and stuff. But for these gigs, they don't happen very often. I just rent like pro photo gears and medium format cameras and stuff, you know. But I'm not gonna purchase a $30,000 camera just because some clients require this, and you know, unless I get paid only $500,000 for this gig, then you might consider buying this. But I haven't encountered a $500,000 gig, or I don't know, like a $100,000 gig so far yet. So yeah, let me just give you an example like what you could use to get your job done in terms of I don't have one tripod here, but the one that I'm using is about $250. It's pretty decent. It's carbon, so it's pretty light and pretty decent. Gets my job done. But you can also get a tripod for $500, $1,000. I think the brand called, I love these tripods. That look so good. It's Gizzo, like Gitzo. It's a really expensive brand. I love to have them. The design, I think they look fantastic, but I think they're too expensive for me at this point. And my current tripod, the $250 tripod, gets my work done because I'm only shooting up to 10 seconds, and I'm sure my tripod can hold still for like an hour. But I'm not shooting like light trails, like what is that, Milky Way, for like putting my camera for like 2 hours exposure. So you gotta know what you're doing. But also, honestly, you can buy a tripod for $20-$30 to shoot a professional gig. Probably a little bit more heavy, but it gets your job done as well. But then I prefer to have something light, so I pay $200 for it, so it gets your job done as well. Same goes with cameras, lighting equipment. There's a whole range of pricing. I mean, to be honest, the technology is so good. You can just buy a decent camera with a decent body on it, and it gets your job done. I must just give you this example of what I'm using for my hotel shoots. I use a really cheap Yono speed light to lit up some areas. Sometimes if I shoot a model or room, you know, that's actually sufficient. Sometimes I bring a bigger strobe, because it's they pay me a little bit more. But most of the time it's sufficient. You can check my website. You can see most of the photos are done with just a simple speed light, and the rest is a lot of Photoshop, and you need to know what you do. I bracket my shots so to get the effect that I want. But in terms of lighting, you can be very cheap. Yeah, and for camera, I use D850 because I like it, and it takes photos that I think it's good. And this is a Sigma. It's actually better than the Nikon. It's newer and stuff. So brands sometimes don't mean anything. You can shoot with Canon, whatever brand you prefer. It's just a preference. It doesn't mean you have more expensive gears and you have better gears. That doesn't mean you're a better photographer. But mainly photography is mainly about experience and composing the image. So it's not so much about gears. I mean, but on a professional level, you want to use somewhat, decent stuff. Okay. So what is an honest photographer? I'm shooting using stuff that gets my work done. So I'm not like showing off like what gears I use and stuff. And sometimes I just have an honest opinion about what can be done and what's more efficient. sometimes there's clients of lower end restaurants asking me to shoot for food for them, or low budget hotels, and I just tell them what I charge, and then and I also tell them that they can just use somebody else. Like, I mean, my photos not that much difference. Maybe it's just the little details here, the experience that where they have to pay more. But essentially, a low budget hotel doesn't make sense, you know, if you pay so much money to shooting it, because the hotel room, it doesn't cost that much like the low end budget. So it doesn't make sense to pay so much for the photography unless they insist on it. So I'll do it. So I tell them, you know, you can honestly look for somebody who's passionate about photography and has a decent camera. You can get the job done, you know, as well, you know, or a little bit less quality. You pay a lot for the experience that I bring on. So also, being an honest photographer takes somewhat experience and confidence in the work that you're doing. So I've been shooting for quite some time, a lot of projects. So I'm, you know, oftentimes photography seems to be very subjective, but the stuff that I'm shooting currently, it's more objective. So I'm shooting hotels, and they have to have a certain standards, somewhat, you know. They have to be straight, the lighting cannot be overexposed or underexposed. So just the basics, but then there have, you know. So anyway, that's my take and brief introduction of my channel and what you guys can expect from the future videos. But as I said, like, I probably spend 95% of my time shooting gigs and for my work. And maybe I have that 5% where I produce a few videos where I should share behind the scenes and some tips. And you guys feel free to ask me questions. You know, I'll be happy to make a video if I think it's interesting. But for most of my videos, it's behind the scenes and live about my photography life, basically what it is like to be a professional photographer in China, and especially in Shanghai, a well-developed city. And yeah, this is from my real photographer's perspective, and not from a YouTube tech review. And those guys are basically, they spend 90% of their time making videos of photography, and then maybe and they don't really have the actual work experience, and that's very different. And whereas myself, I'm the other way around, and I'm trying to set up a channel just for people wanting to know what it is like to be a photographer. You know, I'm telling you, it's not easy. It's really tough to be a photographer in general. So if you think it's easy, then photography is not a job for you. It's very tough and very competitive. So I just happened to be lucky to get that gig, and from certain gigs, and I build upon from this experience to move on to a next level and get more gigs, and people hire me for this. So it took me a long time to build up what I have right now. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope I can produce more videos in the future for you guys to watch, and until then, adios.